I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker.
Here.
Mr. Carangelo.
Here.
Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Sismar.
Here.
Ms. Guas.
Here.
Mr. Hahn.
Here.
Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Winston.
Here.
President Lax.
Here. We have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotape meetings are not edited for any purposes. Individuals who speak at the Board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening to our diehard fans that come the full hour before we know that we're going to actually be seeing you again. So it is always appreciated to see those smiling faces. But alas, bad news, I do have to say that whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, and these subjects are within the exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session, the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows, those items listed on tonight's agenda. The length of closed session is estimated to be 1 hour, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will be taken. Now therefore be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education will recess into closed session for only the aforesaid subjects, and the East Brunswick Board of Education declares its discussion of those subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Moved by Mrs. Becker, second by Mr. Carangelo. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will see you in approximately an hour. All right. Okay, welcome back. We are back. I see that our diehard fans have recruited a little bit more. We've got more of a full audience smiling in the back. So you feel a little bit more at ease, right? Now you got some friends with you. So welcome back to the new and the old. Thank you again for joining us. We are back to do the board's business, and we're going to start, as we usually do, with the superintendent's report. Dr. Valesky.
Thank you, President Lax, and good evening, everyone. This week, schools throughout the district began their Read Across America celebrations. Reading is such a valuable skill in our everyday lives. Read Across America Week is the perfect time to celebrate reading. This year, the theme at Memorial Elementary School was Readers Persevere. To honor Read Across America at Memorial School, students read one book each day focusing on their theme of perseverance. Each book was written by a diverse set of authors and had diverse characters to ensure students could see themselves in the books. Today, the entire school participated in Drop Everything and Read, also known as DEAR, D-E-A-R. Memorial School is ending their week with Rutgers athletes, guest readers, visiting each classroom. They read a book and shared that athletes and readers must keep going and not give up in order to achieve success. To celebrate Read Across America Week at Bound Monroe Elementary School, parents and guardians were invited to join their children for independent reading time. Students were able to share a light breakfast and some stories with their family members. Chittick Elementary School began celebrating Read Across America by having their staff, students, and families participate in the One School, One Book Home and School reading program with the book Mr. Popper's Penguins by Richard and Florence Atwater. Throughout the month of February, students participated in reading, answering trivia questions, and class buddy activities. And today, Chittick wrapped up the program with a visit from Jenkinson's Aquarium in Point Pleasant, starring Zuko, an African penguin. Continuing with the celebration, classes explored more about penguins through hands-on activities and virtual experiences. Special thanks to the PTA for organizing the Jenkinson's Aquarium visit. Along with board members, administrators, and elected officials, I had the pleasure of reading to students at Central Elementary School today. Next week, Read Across America celebrations continue throughout the district, and we are thrilled to partner with so many families and celebrate our students' love of reading. Along with Dr. Boley, I had the pleasure of attending the inaugural Upcycling Communities Expo presented by the third grade classes at Irwin Elementary School. Under the direction of their teachers, Lindsay Woodcock, Mary Balaska, and Haley Dahm, students utilized the third grade social studies curriculum focused on identifying the characteristics of communities. Each group of students collaborated to create either a rural, suburban, or urban community. The collaborative work helped the students become successful problem solvers, communicators, and partners. Using upcycled materials and an East Brunswick Education Foundation grant, which funded items, students created models of each type of community and presented their process and content area knowledge to parents, fellow students, teachers, and administrators. And Megan makes an appearance. On Tuesday evening, the high school chamber orchestra received a gold rating at the 2023 Central Jersey Music Educators Association Festival held at the Bridgewater Raritan High School. There were 9 orchestras that participated, and our chamber orchestra received the highest overall score of the evening, so congratulations to them. And the congratulations continue. In sports, boys bowling won the Group 4 state championship.
Wow.
JV cheer won the JV Session State Championship at Brookdale Community College. And varsity cheer won their first ever state championship, also at Brookdale Community College. So good things going on in the arts and the athletics. Congratulations to all our athletes and teams who have won a state championship this year. These students, along with their coaches, will receive a commendation at our June 1st Board of Education meeting. And I would like to thank the township. They will be recognizing these athletes too at their upcoming council meetings.
Very nice.
Congratulations to our February High School Athletes of the Month. Students were selected for this honor by the coaching staff based on performance, demonstration of leadership, effort, and practice, and of course, modeling exceptional character. This is an exciting season for the East Brunswick Public Schools Drama Department. Tonight is the final performance of the Hammersholt Upper Elementary School production of The Jungle Book. Last evening, the performance had a wildly successful opening night of the beloved children's musical. Almost 300 audience members were in attendance. Congratulations to the directors, cast, and crew of the production. The show is being directed by Hammersholt teachers Mary Borowski and Stephanie Brown. Join the High School Drama Club for their captivating performance of The Wizard of Oz. The event will be held at the Joseph J. Sweeney Auditorium at East Brunswick High School. And I will now allow the high school students to showcase their production for you.
The East Brunswick Drama Club presents The Wizard of Oz.
Allow me to sing for them.
Pardon me, but we need to get to the wizard.
For a price of only $15 for adults and $10 for students and seniors, you can meet all of our jolly old friends from Oz.
And this will all be in the East Brunswick High School auditorium, so don't miss out.
Performances take place on March 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th at 7 o'clock p.m.
And the certain time on March 12th at 3 p.m.
And come see the Wizard of Oz.
still one of my favorites.
And tickets are available at ebhsdrama.org. The Churchill Junior High School's Drama Club will present Matilda Jr. on Wednesday, March 29th and Thursday, March 30th at 7 p.m. at Churchill. Join them as they tell the delightful story of a special little girl with an extraordinary imagination. Tickets are available at cjhs.booktix, that's BOOKTIX.com. And just a reminder, parent-teacher conferences will take place on Tuesday, March 22nd through Friday, March 24th. These are single-session days for all students with lunch served for grades K through 6. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can we go back to the slide with the Read Across America? The one, there you go. So I know that you're going to all laugh. The one in the middle is me. And I don't know if you guys realize who I am reading to. That wonderful class, Mrs. Keeley's first grade class that came to read to us, I decided I was going to go and pay them a visit and read to them today.
Oh, nice.
And I want to tell you that this was not just that they were hams because they were here in front of us and the cameras. These kids are amazing. And I know we were kidding that they're going to be in Megan's seat one day and probably in a lot of our seats. No doubt. What a great class. We have to get them back in here. We're going to have to bring Mrs. Keeley, because I already said I'm going to come back there. Just so you know, my age, and I can say this because my old guys that, from the high school with me, right? I'm older than you, Jeff, now, because 31, which I'll take, 87, Jeff. 87 they guessed me at, so. You can smile. So, so I just had to show you guys that they are as animated in that classroom. She is one lucky teacher, and they are one lucky class to have her, because, wow, they really were just engaged. Right?
But 87 was their guess?
No, he was wearing a Yankees shirt, so I think it's because he sensed my Boston roots. Because we had a Chicago fan. He thought I was actually 31, so I don't know, maybe because, a little bit of banter, I don't know. I know, you're loving that.
No,
I did tell them
I'm
the
gonna use
story.
it again is what I'm
You
gonna
can
do.
use it, and I did tell them if they took to you that the story of when I was turning 49, and I told Dr. Valesky that I was turning 50. Do you remember this? On my own terms, and you said I couldn't do that, and I went around for an entire year and said I was 50 before I turned 50 because I felt that was my way to deal with 50.
You had to work up to it.
I did. I had it, but it was great because I was 50 by choice. So, Anyway, so I just want to tell you, thank you again to Mrs. Keeley, to those incredible kids, because I can't wait to go back. And Joyce knows. So we may have to make some kind of exception, and you may have to get each of these board members in there one day, because that was
We
just.
can do whatever we need to do.
All right, you heard it. So, okay, sorry. I just had to shout out to my best friends. Who knows how many of us will be sitting up here when we get them in Megan's seat. And as I said, maybe ours too, so.
What happens if Megan doesn't graduate?
And then we get to keep her for another year. Oh, come on, Megan. You wait, you want to leave us?
Yes.
Oh, boy, oh.
Your principal is sitting in the back of the room, I'll have you know. so,
I know, I was
yeah.
going to say,
Yeah.
well, I know he's back there somewhere. So actually, going from our first graders, now we're going to actually jump up to some really impressive high schoolers. So some of Megan's classmates are here tonight, and I don't know if any of you went to Central and had Mrs. Keeley, if she was there then. But we do have some incredibly talented kids in this district, and seeing what's going on in sports and what's going on in our drama department, and chorus and the orchestra, it doesn't surprise me now that we have entered into the World Success League of esports. So we do have some visitors, as I said, from the high school. They were going to share their story of how they campaigned and worked to bring esports to East Brunswick High School. So I'm not sure how you guys want to set this up, but I'm going to give you the stage. You can come up, introduce yourselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ziad Bergley.
My name is Jacob Buckwald.
And I'm Sarah Montes.
We are all seniors here at EBHS, and we're going to tell you a little bit about esports. So, well, you may be wondering, what exactly is esports? Well, esports is a competitive approach to modern-day gaming. And you may think of gaming as something like Tetris or Pac-Man. Well, nowadays...
Or Atari for the older people.
I'm sorry.
Pong. I think Pong.
Pong.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just trying to make it relevant. But nowadays, gaming is definitely taken on a different form. We like to think of gaming as something that's gotten a lot more complex and is very team-based. You may think of it similar to how people play in our athletics teams. It's played in high school, college, and even in professional organizations. In fact, one of the biggest games, League of Legends, actually had more viewership than the Super Bowl and its final tournament. So,
Another thing about esports is that it's a common ground for a lot of students. During our school's activity fair, we had almost 200 kids sign up during in our interest forum, showing how important this club was and how it really brought a lot of people into something that they could all relate to, even though they might be people who are in sports or they might be in arts and all of these different groups. But all of these students play video games, and that was something that they can all relate to. And through our club, we've seen a lot of growth in sportsmanship and teamwork, and our teams are really working together and creating solid friendships, even past just playing on a team together. And another important thing about esports is that it gives opportunities for future success, because not only, as Ziad was saying about our sports currently, as there are professional leagues and college leagues, a lot of colleges are currently starting their own esports teams and going into this fast-growing industry. And because of that, we have students who can get scholarships and can be recruited. In fact, one of our exec board members, Raj Daparia, is currently talking to multiple schools who are looking to recruit him onto their Valorant teams. And so there's a lot of opportunities for the students, both in our high school, but also beyond that. And it's not just for college. There are professional leagues, and it is really becoming a big thing in the world.
Now, the esports program at East Brunswick High School has been something that's been a long time coming, and you may ask how exactly we got here.
So actually, during quarantine, I had reached out to Ziad and a couple of my other friends because I realized we probably weren't just going to be there for 2 weeks, and I knew that we had all been playing video games for a long time together on our own time, and so I decided to create a Discord server, which is similar to a Teams or a Slack if you use that. And I had sent it out through my own social media to anybody in the school who was interested in playing video games with anybody in the school, sort of as a way for people to kind of reconnect over the quarantine, especially going into a year where we weren't in person at all. And so being able to meet new people through video games. And so I called it the EB Game Room. And we had all played video games. We even started watching movies because we had really created such a foundation of both friendship as well as being able to play our sports together.
I think one thing that's important to mention is that through all these people that are participating in the esports club, the one thing that we all have in common is our love for video games. And this idea for the actual club at the high school sort of came to fruition way back in February of 2022 during one of the principal's council meetings when Dr. Vanella brought up the idea of an esports club at the high school. And I kid you not, 2/3 of the room raised their hands when asked if they wanted a club at the high school. Now, it just goes to show how big of an interest it was, and we made sure that we wanted to bring that to the students. So Ziad, in March, brought up the idea to Dr. Vanella of coming together with the group of, there were 5 of us, 5 students, to sort of jumpstart this idea and create the club that we had always dreamed of. So between then and August, we worked together to get fundraising through various organizations such as the EBEF and the NJPSA, which the award that Dr. Vanella received was graciously donated to us and went towards our fundraising. So through all the money that we fundraised, we were able to set everything up between September and October of 2022. And I will say, when our area was officially set up and completed, Dr. Vanella called all of us down to the media center, didn't tell us anything about what was going on, We walked into the room, and all we saw was Dr. Vanilla and the two gentlemen from the EB Tech department who have been super helpful in the whole process. They just had these huge smiles on their faces. They showed us the whole lab with everything that we had dreamed of the entire time, stuff that we had been planning ever since the very beginning. And it just goes to show that over time, we were able to accomplish this, and it really is a huge step forward for the high school. Now, between then, a couple months have passed, and now we have both a competitive team and a club, so that using the example of real life sports like the NBA, NFL, you could play competitively, but on the other side, you could just play like a pickup basketball game or football in your backyard with some friends. And we want to have that open to all students to play, no matter what skill level, because in the end, we're open to everyone, and all we care about is that you have the passion for video games. So on our competitive side, we have 2 teams currently playing. One, which is pictured in the bottom right, is participating in a statewide league, and they are currently number 2 in the state, which is such a huge step forward considering this club was only founded at the beginning of the school year. We've already come so far. And myself, I play for a different game, and we play in a national league called the High School Esports League, and we are currently number 1 in the East Coast. So throughout the years, the years in the future, we hope to expand on this to the point where more people can play, and we have the ability to hold teams in different games, so we allow people who have different interests in the different games to be able to play.
Well, Jacob already touched on this a little bit, but I want to tell you about where we can go in the future. So when we look at esports right now, we've accomplished a good amount, but there's so much more to be done. So, for example, we want our teams to be recognized, as most high schools have, as varsity teams, as varsity players, and get their varsity letter, and also be able to get jerseys to show that they're part of the East Brunswick community. So for that to happen, we do need some additional equipment and additional support. So we're looking to expand our current setup, which is about 12 computers, to hopefully around 30, so that we can accommodate more people casually and competitively in our club. I mean, we have such a big base in the high school for a club that was founded just this year. We want to be able to include everybody and make sure everybody has an equal chance to participate. So with that in mind, we also want to, with the future of a new high school, we also want to include possibly an esports lab. And having that would help us expand so much. If you look to Edison High School has an entire lab connected to their media center that has about, I think, 30 computers total, all with professional cameras. They have a full-time coach and broadcasting. We have been able to do, I mean, not to like brag, but we beat Edison in both the games we played against them, both in Jacob's game and in a scrimmage that my team played recently. So, and we beat them today in our playoffs. So actually 3 times now. So if we're able to do all this with just what we started this year, imagine what we could do and what we could continue to do if we were able to expand.
So with that being said, I'd like to thank you all for listening to our presentation, and also give special thanks to the Board of Ed for having us, as well as our building admin, again the EBEF for their very generous donation, as well as our other donors and our advisors for helping us actually get this club running and off its feet, and the tech department for helping set up and also just throughout the year being available to help us with anything that we may need.
All right, actually, before we finish, sorry, I just want to say, Mr. Montesir is our advisor right here, and Mr. Sadowski. I don't see him. Oh, there he is. So, thank you so much, and I'm sorry, could you go back one slide? I forgot something. Just one slide. Oh wait. Okay. Well, I thought we had our jerseys there, but we had
We do.
We do?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you go back to that? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we do actually have a design for the jerseys, and I just wanted to point out because of EBF's generous donation, we do have their emblem on the side of our jersey, and we actually really like the design. So please help us make them.
Ziad, Sarah, Jacob, great job. Very.
Yep.
Kudos to you guys. But I have to ask one question, and you have to excuse the ignorance because I'm an Atari kid, as we all laughed about before, and Guitar Hero is my most, that's my most up-to-date. So just a clarification question for someone like me. Do you play, so you're playing these games, is it any type of video game? Like when you play, or is it certain ones that you play and get really good at? Like when I was a kid, it was like Donkey Kong, or like you got really good, I know, in Pac-Man. Like,
She's
okay.
87 years
I'm
old.
87. But
I
my
play
point
Donkey
was,
Kong too. Okay, so you're not that. Trust me, it's not
but
that
you
bad.
you tried to beat the score. So like my question is it just like one or two games that you have to excel at, or do you play games that you've never seen before when you're doing these competitively?
Well, honestly, it really depends because for competitively, I would say most people focus on one game and they really try to improve in that. But most of the games we play are team-based, so it can't just be. And while it is one person just working to improve, it's also them working as a team and building sportsmanship in the team to help them get there. But at the same time, when I play casually, I definitely play a bunch of different games. And I just like experiment with different stuff. But competitively, definitely. I think most people focus on one or two games maximum.
So you're telling me it's foosball online, right? Is that another one that's fun? I know. I'm just thinking it's a team thing. Okay.
I have a question.
Of course.
Great presentation. I was a beast at millipede, if you ever.
Yes.
Millipede.
Yeah.
But what about eye protection or any safety measures you guys take on computers?
That's our problem.
That question there?
I mean, so honestly, we had not taken that into account. I'll be very honest, but at the same time, students use computers their entire school day, and they use them when they get home, and it is something to be worried about. So we'll definitely look into something to counter that possibly. Yeah, I need glasses soon. Trust me.
Yeah.
We'll look into that. Thank you.
Very, very impressive.
Lord,
See, Megan, Jeff, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, real quick. Now, I know what you mentioned athletics, and I know athletics has a criteria, particularly grades, to stay on a team. Do you have that criteria?
We do.
Having
Yes.
3 boys, if I gave them, because actually they did try out, but we sort of had a disagreement in the house, the amount of time one may dedicate toward video games. That seemed to be an issue of contention. So with that said, do you have a grade minimum requirement to stay on a team?
We do.
You do?
Yeah, so when we were talking about what exactly we wanted to see in the club, we definitely talked about that because there is always the issue of students devoting too much time to video games. But because we understood that we have, I believe, I don't exactly know what our GPA requirement is. A 2.5?
You do.
Yes, we have a 2.5 requirement for our competitive team as well as, I believe we also hold somewhat of a standard to our casual members as well, just because we do want them to take this seriously as well. And another thing I hadn't mentioned is that there have been a couple of studies where students have actually shown more interest in being in school and interest in their studies because they have an outlet to express themselves, because video games are so important to them. Being able to have a place in school where they can feel seen and recognized, and that makes them feel more connected to their school. It makes them feel more and feel more likely to, or more motivated to also do well in school, as well as for our club. We have a requirement, so they would have to uphold to that as well.
So, I mean, I've definitely been caught. I shouldn't say caught, but my mom has definitely, at times, told me if my grades are lacking, I need to cut down on the video games. But some people may not be held to the same standard by their parents. So we want to ensure that we, as we want to be a sport, we want to hold people to the same requirements as athletes would be held to. And like Sarah said, I think that that's what we do, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah.
Well, you make me realize the problem may be mine. I think, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm seeing my parents yelling at me, turn down that rock and roll. This may be my kids. This is my problem. I think I might be wrong.
But they're practicing, Dad. Come on.
Yeah, I need this to learn something. Yeah, no, all right, you got me.
Any other, Mrs. Chu has a question as well.
Yeah, no, just a comment. I think there's this image I think we have of, gaming, that it's, you're by yourself and you're not socializing. And just how impressive the three of you were with your presentation skills and the talk about the teamwork and working together towards a cause. I think it really reflects a different side of gaming. So congratulations on your great work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's
good
a
presentation.
Not the typical, I know we have another question. Mr. Hong, I believe, has a question or comment as
Yes.
well.
Very good achievement. By chance, I'm on the EBEF trustee. I know how much money you got. You start such small amount of money. You achieve such big goal. So really great. So do you have, so in your idea, how many computers do you want or anticipate?
30.
No,
Right?
the Edison has 30.
31.
And, so your guys' achievement remind me, so the future, the job, sports, we have no idea, we cannot tell. So about 2 years ago, nobody talking about esports. Now it's very popular. So let's keep in mind that when we're thinking about new high school, we make it very flexible for future program, for the future activities.
Now you know who you're hitting up for your jerseys.
So I think I suggest maybe you should start to further fundraising to get more money, and then invite Laura Lex, the president, to be there.
I mean, honestly, all we're looking for is generally a stipend, just like athletics get for their teams. And we do want to expand to more computers, maybe more than Edison, but
we
we
have to
proved
get
that we don't need
Edison.
that. We can be good even if we get less than them. And it's about making the most of what you get. And you guys know that. And it's with you, the EBFA, the EBEF, I'm sorry, the EBEF, that we were able to even do this on our own. So thank you so much.
Very true. Oh, did you have a?
So, for fundraising, we could have like a betting, like.
What did you say?
She
Did
didn't
you-
say
no,
that.
what did
She
you say?
didn't say that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I was going to say that it might be an interesting project for our AP Marketing and Economics students to study the psychological and financial effects on promoting certain people. That's a nice way of saying bookies, right? So
Oh, she didn't say that either.
I'm just thinking, I have to tell you something. Everything everyone talked about is so true. What you guys did about taking an idea from concept to reality is project management on steroids. But you learned an incredibly valuable skill because that's something that you can take with you throughout whatever your careers become. The systematic way you went about it with breaking it down into all the steps and achieving each milestone along the way and building on it until you were presented with the implementation. It's just so commendable. I am really very impressed, and don't listen to them. The bookie idea is really
She didn't say that. She
wonderful,
Didn't say that.
just wonderful.
She's the 87-year-old. That's why you gotta watch out.
Honestly, it's not just us, and it's really the students too, because Jacob is a captain of his specific game, and honestly, without our captains of our different teams, we really wouldn't have gotten anywhere, because we need someone that's knowledgeable and able to lead the students, and because, I mean, honestly, without leadership, people just wander. So it's true, and Jacob is a great example of that.
That's very impressive. And I love what Sarah said early on, that you thought about how you can, still interact with your fellow students. And you guys, you're great. This happened. You were, you had your 10th grade year, your first year in the high school. You were completely remote. So here you were, you're kind of almost done with Churchill. You're on like the downslide of that semester. And the next thing you know, you're out of the school. And you're right. You came into the high school and now you guys are the seniors, you're the big guys on campus, but you came into a high school and you had no clue, no access to anyone, so I think that's impressive that you thought about that 2 years before the implementation of this. And Mrs. Chu is right, the fact that you just presented this well, I mean, you've impressed everybody up here, because it's not just what you think of when you say someone who's sitting in a basement playing video games. You guys are all well-spoken. And my friend Megan over there, who can't wait to leave, I'm assuming that the three of you are going to be very sad when you leave the halls of East Brunswick. Yes. Okay. Which again, so that I'll invite you back, like some of the rest of us
Oh,
that
yeah.
didn't seem to leave,
Yeah.
right? My gentleman friends, the much older ones on the ends here, and myself, we obviously, we couldn't leave East Brunswick either. So this is something, just kind of keep this in mind in a few years. But yeah, really.
And I want to thank Dr. Vanilla too, because he created the forum at the high school to have the principals council, to have this conversation with the students. And he became a big advocate of this. And an award he got from PSA was part of what he put to, as part of seed money to fund this. So thank you, Dr. Vanilla, for being an advocate for that.
And Monsieur Monacier and Mr. Sadowski. We
Yes,
don't want to
without
forget that. They're
them-
coaches, right?
Yeah.
If you're the captain, they're the coaches, so. Super coach in the back, owner's box, and the guys that do the real, there, I just found you. Sorry. See, you can grow, but you don't ever grow up.
The good news is, if you go to a competition at your age, you can get a senior pass.
All right, I thank you so much. This was really a great treat for us, and come back and, I know you're graduating soon, but I look forward to taking you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I don't know who set this up, Mr. Giuliano, but it seems as though these poor budget managers have to always present after spectacular things from our students.
Well, we saved the best for last.
Yes! Go, Megan! All right. So I know. Thank you again, guys. Yes, so you did make it a little bit harder, but now the board is actually in a really good mood, so that's the good news. So Dr. Woolley, I believe you're first up. I usually like to tease and say, go follow that, but as I said, we're all kind of smiling, so maybe they did you a favor.
So I'm happy to present the proposed budget for next school year for the Department of Academics. So this budget supports our almost 8,200 students in grades K through 12 and provides for the curriculum, the textbooks, the online resources, the instructional materials, and the curricular programs for our almost 500 courses. And we provide all of these items in our 7 curricular areas and for many of our additional curricular programs, such as district-wide professional learning, home instruction, the FLEX program, our ESL program, staff evaluations throughout the district, and district-wide testing. So here is a visual of the expenditures of this budget, and you can see the main areas include new units of study in grades K through 2 in the ILA department, the mathematics piece of the pie, which includes 3 new textbook requests, and the science is, the main bulk of that is the Fairview experience for our students. And I'm happy to take any specific questions about any lines in the budget.
You just mentioned the Fairview experience. Is the Fairview, is it going to go back to the traditional model of multiple days?
Yes, yes, 2 nights, 3 days.
Okay. So does the board, do you want to do a round robin? Does everyone have questions? You want to just know? Anyone have, okay. Any questions for Dr. Bowler? Mr. Winston.
Dr. Bully, on the math portion, 22%, and you mentioned there's 3 new techs involved with that?
Yes,
What grade level are those techs for?
7, 8, and 9.
Okay, and that's beyond e-vision?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so-
this is for the secondary math program at Churchill.
All right, so with that, these new techs that you're bringing in, I know one of the issues that we've been made aware of, we feel there's a transitional problem between e-vision to particularly the grades that you're mentioning, are these texts designed to close that gap?
Yes, they are, and we're already using the Big Ideas program in Algebra 2 currently.
Fantastic, thank you.
I just want you to know what a big impact that those students had on Mr. Winston, that he's just changed Envision to eVision.
What did I call it?
eVision. So I think, so you know, so now you know you have a big fan there. Okay. All right, I think we're good. Thank you wait, a late hand up, sorry about that. Mr. Han?
So Dr. Bowley, I'm a number guy, okay? For the textbook, so you order different number copies for different grade. For the Big Ideas math book and the evasion textbook, so what's your judgment? So what's the rationale for you to order different copies of the books?
The textbooks on, for the grades 7, 8, and 9?
Yes, let me get a bit more.
What page are we on?
Okay, so for this, page 42 of 72. So for the evasion from math K to 6. So if there's a statement says, okay, so the grade 6 is nearly hitting the older number in grade 4. So we anticipate we'll have more students. And I want to know, did you factor in the possible increased number of students for the textbook?
Yes, this number was based on enrollment at the time the budget creation happened in November, but we have some extra here in the closet that we have from last year to factor in for any increased enrollment in the various grade levels.
Okay, on the next page, the Big Idea math. For the grade 7, you ordered 575. And then for the Big Idea math grade 8, there's 625. So why those numbers are different? And for the big next page, the Big Ideas math, so you order this for 700 students. So why that's different? So I anticipate the students will use the same copies for multiple years. And then why the numbers are different?
Well, Mr. Hong, that's a good question, but again, these numbers were based on enrollment in the courses at the time that the budget creation took place, back in the fall.
Okay, so if some, maybe a few years later, or maybe next year, we'll have more students, so are you going to ask new budget to order extra copies?
No, there's money set aside in the school budget for additional textbooks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay. Our superhero saved the day for our theater kids, so we could hear them. So, Mr. Latoniga, you are up next with our IT budget.
I have to apologize because my presentation is not as exciting as the esports, and it's not as brief as Dr. Bowley, so.
But you helped us hear The Wizard of Oz, and that's one of my favorites, so.
But you're behind the esports.
That's right.
Is it
You did get a shout out with that.
Is it like high-tech?
It's funny because I just joked with my secretary that I numbered the pages in case I dropped them, I would be able to find my place, so. So good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nick Latronica. I'm the proud Chief Information Officer for the district. And you know, one thing, as I prepared this presentation, I can't help but be grateful for, working for an organization that understands the importance of maintaining the technology assets that we need, but also being able to have the proper staff to do the job in technology. You know, we're lucky enough to have a budget that sustains us. Our desktop support team manages requests from over 10,000 staff, students, and parents a year. And our network team maintains an infrastructure that has less than a 1% overall downtime, which is excellent. We have an amazing team of application support people and programmers that help to integrate our various systems with each other, that help us to maintain an efficient environment, not only for the district, but helps us to eliminate error in entering the same data more than once. To say that I'm proud of what me and my team does is an understatement. Okay, this is one of those pages that's out of place. So the IT budget is something, the process happens all year long. My secretary, Florence, over here, is really diligent, and she makes note of every new purchase that we make so that we can assess whether or not it's something that we want to incorporate into the following year's budget. And she is also a watchdog. She gets hundreds of quotes a year to make sure that we're getting the best price available. So even when something is under state contract and we can buy at that price, we still go through and make sure that we're getting the best value for our money. I also work very closely with my management team and other district leaders to monitor the products and services that we're using to make sure that they're of value and they're the best fit for the district. Next slide. So the IT budget supports and maintains technology across the entire district. We pride ourselves on keeping up to date with the latest technology while still ensuring that everything is compatible with our existing technology and aligns with current district goals and objectives. We like to use the motto, leading edge, not bleeding edge. A bird's eye perspective of our environment and assets include, and these are all rough numbers, about 5,000 Windows laptops that we use one-to-one for teachers and students, grade 7 through 12, or faculty members rather. About 6,000 Chromebooks that are used students grade K through 6 for one-to-one, as well as loaner devices and dedicated carts that are used for testing and other purposes. About 1,000 PCs and Macs that are used in shared labs and administrative spaces, secretaries, administrators, et cetera. And we have a little over 800 wireless access points that give us wireless connection end-to-end throughout the district. And some of the rooms, such as like the high school cafeteria and the Jam Pack, can accommodate close to 500 wireless devices at any given time. It includes display technology that we have in all classrooms and some shared purpose rooms. This includes interactive smart boards and flat panels in grades K through 6. And then in the upper level grades and shared spaces, we have typically like flat panel or LCD projectors. Starting this year, we actually have 3 data centers throughout the district. So this way we have redundancy for all of our major systems. And we also have backup routes built in so that if we lose fiber at any given point throughout our private fiber network, we have alternate routes so that the entire district or half the district doesn't go out. We also have over 10,000 managed user accounts and analytics behind that to see important information about each account. And almost all of our applications and systems can be accessed anywhere with an internet connection. So let's see. The budget also provides support for assets that keep the district running, both hardware and software, such as our network firewalls, routers, and switches that keep all of our buildings connected and secure with our private fiber network. Our dedicated internet service, which gives every corner of the district 10 gig service. We have centralized print, copy, and scan software using PaperCut. And an interesting number is over the past year, we have gone from printing and copying about 20 million pages a year to just around 12 million pages a year. So that's an 8 million page savings just in the past year as we've been really rolling this out. And next year, we're continuing to really enforce the centralized printing, so we hope to see an even bigger cut. The vendor that supports our copiers was not as happy as I am about the reduction in pages. It encompasses our district-wide telephone and mass communication systems. And it also covers our Microsoft Academic Services, which provides all staff and students access to Windows on district devices, as well as access to the powerful Microsoft Office suite from any computer or Chromebook. The system provides us management not only for accounts, but for mobile devices and electronic records, including email communications. And this allows us to be compliant with the Open Public Records Act. And we can do searches in a matter of hours for a 3 or 4 year period. Maybe 7 or 8 hours, but all right. So as a side note, with that Microsoft system, it's such a robust system that we can actually tell when and where our different applications and systems are accessed from. It also provides us with security risk scores that automatically take factors such as when and where someone logs into effect. So for example, if I logged in at 3 p.m. here in East Brunswick and at 4 o'clock in Miami, Florida, it would send a red flag saying this account is probably compromised. This budget also supports cybersecurity awareness and end user training. It supports Genesis, which is our student information system, as well as our transportation system, our finance and HR management system, which includes absentee management and recruitment. And I need to point out that both our student information system and our HR systems have secure integrations with about 20 other systems, as I said, to reduce the need for entering a single piece of data more than once. Once again, not only does that make us more efficient, but it reduces the opportunity of data being entered inconsistently. Okay. I'm glad I numbered these. The budget also covers software services and licensing for instructional services, such as BrainPop, iReady, Learning Ally, Envision Math, and the Adobe Creative Suite, our career and college readiness system, which is Naviance, and various student services, including IEP Direct and 504 Direct, which provides support for our students with IEP and 504 plans. On this last exciting slide, you'll see a page out of order. It has additionally our curriculum development and lesson planning system, Canvas, which is our LMS for grades 7 through 12, our professional development system, Oasis, and also analytic tools such as EduClimber, which help us keep an eye, identify, and monitor students that might be in need so that we can provide intervention services quicker. This final exciting slide shows the breakdown of each of these, the expenditures broken down categorically. You'll see the biggest budget is what we spend for equipment that has a limited life cycle. So that's like computers, telephones, network equipment, and display technology. The next biggest budget is, the systems that provide support across the district, such as our technology, finance, HR systems, and various operational licenses. The other buckets are broken down by category so that we can track what we spend in different functional areas, such as security and child study team. Yes?
You've got lots of questions, yes. Well, we certainly, as we all learned during the pandemic, you've made things seamless and the ability with the one-to-one devices for our kids to be out there. So we'll see what you can do. I'm going to start with Mark and go.
Thank you. Great presentation. We're on the topic of sports, and you get injured in sports. Piggybacking off of my prior comments to kids before, is there any district safety for eyes? Eyewear, eye strain? Do we just run the computers all the time? Is there any need for that?
We don't issue anything district-wide, but.
Would that be something that the kids come to the nurse's office with eye strain? Have you seen any injuries?
Oh, we could ask the nurses. We have not seen or heard that that's been an issue.
Because it is an issue in life, right?
Right,
You see
right,
that. So,
right.
On the phones, on computers, so.
It may be, although I asked my eye doctor, should I be wearing, because I stare at a screen all day, and I said, should I get those blue light?
Well,
And they said no.
Blue screen.
He said, no, it doesn't do anything, so I guess there's.
I mean, one of the things too is, we don't want students on the screen all the time, and most doctors, I think, recommend that you move away from the screen and you allow your eyes to adjust, that you do something else for a period of time, so. But we do not have any district-issued.
So there's no need for any exploration of anything like that?
But during the process of a day, though, I think they're on their screens a little bit. I mean, I don't know about later, but if you think about.
That e-gaming thing and.
Well, but but when students are in school, correct, Dr. Bo, like you use some electronics, but I'm thinking that they're probably less screen time that Mr. Carangelo was thinking about. Right?
We could certainly, we could ask the nurses if they've seen anything of that nature.
Safety is key, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Hopefully parents at home are practicing that with their kids and limiting it. Mrs. Becker?
I don't think really anyone except Bernie would appreciate how far this district has come.
You think I'm that old?
No, I think you've just been around as longer than I have. When I first got on the board, the conversation about technology and the budget every year was the same thing. How many PCs could we afford to replace, and how many could we stretch out and keep using? And every year, if we had to make budget cuts, it came out of the technology budget. That was like our bucket of expendable money. And then, thank God, the board was educated that first we had to invest in infrastructure. And that all these wonderful things that were going to be coming up, if we didn't have the infrastructure in place, we wouldn't be able to do them. And thanks to you, Nick, and your incredible team, and Dr. Valesky and Bernie's vision, we were better prepared for the onslaught of the pandemic and what that resulted in terms of our technology needs than probably just about any district in the state.
Well, I have to say, and once again, this goes to, the excellence of people on my team, but the network team, for example, what they've done to modernize our infrastructure and replace physical servers with virtual machines, which isn't only excellent from a backup standpoint. You don't have a server that dies. We can spin that server up in another data center. But we don't have the heating costs. We don't have the cost of the servers, which, can be, between $4,000 to $10,000 for a single server. We have shared disk space, which is a lot more affordable, and it allows us to do a lot more without increasing, the allocation budget. every
Again,
year.
the conversation used to be, we have 100 PCs in the district. Can we replace 10, right? I'm not kidding. The one thing I wanted to highlight for those watching, you made some very important points. It's when people think about technology for the district, it's not just the technology in the buildings for the students and staff, although that's crucial. It's also the software and hardware that's used to run the district, because the district is a business. All of our departments, as you mentioned on some of your slides, finance, HR, transportation, everything, has their own software system. And we've invested in that because, like any business today, it's run on, it's all technology. So when we talk about spending on technology, it's not just to provide for the classrooms. Not that that isn't crucial, and we've invested a lot in that. We've also invested a lot in making sure that this district is well run as it is from a technology standpoint. And again, the vision you have brought is wonderful, because you're always looking beyond. You look at what we have, you hear talk from everyone about what we want, and you anticipate what we'll need to support that. So thank you.
Thank you. It's something that I enjoy doing.
I think so.
You can tell.
Just a little.
I know Mrs. Reese and Mr. Winston are waiting, so.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you last year, if you remember what that was, but I'll catch you. I have great praise for what you do. I think what you do is absolutely amazing. I tend to reserve the victory lap because I know that if something goes wrong in your area, every other department that's presented their budget drops to their knees. And so with that, same question I asked you last year. What keeps you up at night that you think we need in this district that we need to consider in terms of capability, protection, and continuity?
So, nothing really keeps me up from worry because I feel like we're in a really good place. But the thing that I think scares any IT director or CIO would be, a cybersecurity incident. What if the worst possible scenario happened? I think it was April of 2021. We were the victim of an attack, and we recovered really quickly. Nothing was, we did not have a district-wide outage the way that, let's say, Hillsborough had for a few days. And worst case, we had some laptops that we were wiping clean and re-imaging, and that took, how many days, Cliff? Maybe like 4 or 5? Yeah. But it was, we were steamrolling and doing groups of computers at once. So, really the impact was really small, and I was happy with, the way that my team was able to handle that so quickly.
So with that then, to enhance our cybersecurity capabilities, is there something that you know about that we don't have that you wish you did?
So some of the things that we are looking to do next year is we're looking to, have some independent assessments done, penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, similar to some of the things that we had, we had an independent study done maybe 10 years ago. So I want us to start doing those ourselves. But there's actually a lot of access. We have access to a lot of free tools that are provided by the government. So we can get these tools either really cheap or free. And it makes us a little more comfortable knowing that we have a good security posture.
I guess just lastly, I mean, if there is something, please never hesitate. I prefer you not wait to a budget year to leave us in playing in traffic.
Yeah, I mean, always, the big thing is having enough funds for the computer equipment that we need. Once you go to one-to-one, falling into a cycle like Vicki was saying, it's hard to catch back up. If you go a year where you say we're going to cut money, and that's one thing, luckily, the budget's never been cut in IT. But to make sure that we stay on top of exactly what we need. And that's a hard part of planning the budget, is knowing how many staff members have a laptop, and a laptop is this much, and Chromebooks, and, so to put those requests in to balance everything is, that keeps me up sometimes.
Thanks for your work. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Reese?
Thank you again for everything you and your team does. Oh, let me put my, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you again for everything you and your team does. Going back to what something that I think Vicki said, during the pandemic, giving out all those laptops, making sure everybody had the connectivity that they needed. It was a huge task, and it's really, we thank you. We appreciate it. So my questions are similar. I was going to ask about cybersecurity. That's one of my favorite topics. So I'm glad to hear. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that we're. I know you're always on top of things, and I'm glad to hear that you feel that you have the resources that you need for that. The other thing that I was questioning, a couple of things. The lease purchase agreement. If you could tell folks, because maybe they don't realize that you have a whole arrangement to keep these laptops fresh through the.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the slide, the I guess brownish orange color, that's what Barbara's referring to as the lease purchase. So that is, kind of a guaranteed amount of funds that we have to use for items that age out at a certain age. So laptops, computers, projectors, network switches and routers and things like that. And that's the place where it's really important for us to calculate and keep up on, so that we don't kind of get into a technology deficit. And, it's so hard if, to not give a little bit of money this year, if you skip a year or two, you're really investing a large dollar amount a couple of years later instead of just keeping up on it.
So we thank you for that, because you keep everything up to date, so that the kids are kept to the highest level of technology that we can.
We have a great Cliff's desktop support team. Some of those tech offices, especially in Hammersholt on up, they look like war zones with, you have a Chromebook that the system board dies, and they take it apart to use the screen, to use the keys, to use, the audio jack. They really, provide a large value to the district with how resourceful they are with,
Well, thank you.
Keeping systems running, so.
Now, at the high school for display technology, I know there had been a turn to get rid of the TVs, right? It shows our age. That we had TVs in the classroom to show like the morning announcements and things like that. So now how's that working for the Churchill, the high school? Do they have everything they need for a display? Is it on a computer now, or how's it working?
So, yeah, at the high school, the TVs that you're talking about were the old, like
Yeah, we're
CRT,
talking
the
about
big,
to remove
huge, like
those.
80-pound TVs.
Yeah.
So, we do have a portion of the budget that's used to replace a certain number of systems a year. So the actual TVs, I'm not sure, right? Really, you really haven't been using them functionally for a few years at the high school, right, Dr. Vanilla? But we have LCD projectors or flat screen TVs in every room, so that the teachers can project what's on their laptop up onto the
So is there a
the screen.
need for more funding for that, to make sure that they're all, set at the high school or Churchill or wherever else at the upper grades?
So there was a budget request that was put in to increase that lease purchase that will help us keep current with what our goals are, yes.
Oh, that's excellent news. Oh, and security-wise, I was looking at the pie, it's 1% of our budget, but you're saying a lot of the tools are free now, so you're able to manage it within, that's amazing, I'm not
So
saying.
the security that you see up there is actually the money spent for like Paul Natalicio's team. So it's not for cybersecurity.
Oh, I didn't understand, okay.
But it's for like the computers and monitors that are used by those SSOs.
So that, is this, where would where would the security, the actual cybersecurity fall into the budget?
That falls in the green bucket, which is what covers like enterprise systems.
Okay.
Cybersecurity falls underneath that.
So it's a larger portion. Okay.
Yeah, and the Microsoft subscription that we have is really excellent as far as security and kind of monitoring.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Mr. Sismar?
I'm always impressed with the IT department, but I've probably asked this question again. Where are we at with Kronos? So it's about $62,000. Every year I see it's anticipated offsetting annual savings will pay for the cost of the program. Tell me I'm wrong, that we're not there yet.
So Kronos is functional. It's working, it's processing. We have people in this building that are using it. We have some issues that I'm really not at liberty to talk about right here in the open. But as far as tracking time, the system is fully functional.
Yeah, and again, I know it's your department just covers it, but I'll just make a comment. This is probably the 5th year I've seen this. I'm guessing we need to start implementing it so to its full potential. It's just a comment, and I don't expect any return from you, but thank you.
Mrs. Chu?
I just wanted to piggyback on a question that was earlier about what what additional support you would look for cybersecurity, kind of piggybacking on the conversation earlier. And you mentioned the last time we did penetration testing was 10 years ago. And certainly there are the free tools that we're leveraging for the testing, but if that's something that we haven't done for 10 years, and if you think that that's something we should do, I'd ask that you follow up and take another look at that. If there's one thing that'll crash us to our knees faster than anything else and cost us a lot of money is a cyber attack. So I just want to support, what my colleagues here have been saying about, thank you for everything you do and keep up the emphasis. That's not the place to cut corners. If we need to do penetration testing, let's look into it.
So when we were attacked, April of 21, we did have a company that came in to provide an assessment to make sure that there was no damage that maybe we didn't realize. And they did do penetration and vulnerability testing at that point. They, tested how they could get into our network.
So there was
so
some
that was,
testing.
so it hasn't been 10 years since we've done
Okay.
that. And we do minor things internally as well to, to kind of keep an eye, scans of the hardware to make sure that, default passwords aren't used, to make sure that systems aren't in a firmware that provide risk. So we do some things, but as far as, full scale, kind of maybe having an external company come in periodically and,
Yeah, perhaps that's something to look into, periodically. It's not, it's expensive, not something to do all the time, but, let's take a look at that, because that, like I said, a serious event will cost us far more than, what such a study would cost, so.
Yeah, you don't want to find out something that you didn't realize.
Right.
Because your entire
Right.
district is shut down. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Hong?
So Nick, thank you very much for the job. It's a great job you are doing, and you did before. So I just want to emphasize the cybersecurity. So please pay a lot more attention to it. We cannot afford a security breach. There will be safety issue and a data issue and district's operation. So it's a big impact. So I have a general question for you. So when I look at this 3 years budget comparison, there is big difference. Actually, it's decrease this year. What happened? Why there's such big difference? 46%
Yeah, I saw it. too.
decrease.
I'm sorry, for this is in which category?
This is 5, page 5 of 30.
No, I'm sorry.
He doesn't have that.
Page 5.
Yeah, page 5 of 30.
The end number, the differential on the end number after 24.
The appropriations.
That's So that's in instructional equipment.
Under appropriation.
Page 5.
Okay, so the overall
Yeah, the
variance.
overall budget.
I'm guessing that that has something to do with money that we had to spend maybe for the TCUs, something that was a one-time expense last year.
I think you're right on, I think you're right on target with that. It
Yeah,
was all
it-
related to TCUs and
Every-
what we had to do to get that building operational.
Everything we did with the TCUs, the laptops, the network switches, the access points, the extension for the phone system, that was all paid out of separate funds. It didn't come out of the core budget. But the IT budget itself has not decreased since I've been in this position.
Okay, thank you.
Will we be able to use those things in TCUs when we get rid of TCUs? That's a good thing.
The equipment that's in there?
Yeah. We can keep
The tech equipment, it all belongs to the
so
district.
we
It-
keep it-
It's a matter of, by the time we get to that point in time, whether it's useful or not.
If it hasn't aged out, right, if it hasn't aged
Those
out.
kids are gonna have to be somewhere. They're not in the TCUs, they're gonna have to be in a school, so there's some.
By that,
We'll go with them.
by that
Yeah.
time, we'll be on a replenishment cycle for that material that's in those TCUs.
The one expense is one grade level. Seventh grade went from having Chromebooks to having a laptop, so that was one expense. And then the other equipment, that's equipment that if it's still usable when the TCUs go out, we'll definitely recycle it in the district. We don't throw anything out, trust me.
So the reason why I ask this question is, no matter what, I personally want we keep invest heavily on the technology, because that is the future of our education. So I don't say, this 46% is shocking me. So that's why I'm asking this question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, the IT budget has definitely, it has never been decreased since I've been here. It's increased every year with the addition of additional systems. But we've never cut back money, especially from that lease purchase portion. And one thing that I'm always afraid of is I would never want to say, you know what, we want to get 3 new staff members and then realize that we don't need those staff members. That's happened in the past with IT, and we want to make sure that we're providing value for the district while still meeting expectations.
One second, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Nick. Great job as always. Would you like to give, I know you have your team with you. You want to get a quick shout out?
Yeah, we have Clifford, which is our desktop support manager.
Hi, Cliff.
Doreen, who is the one that answers 99% of the calls on the phone, and she is super patient. And then Florence is my right hand. And, Flo takes care of processing a few hundred POs a year. Every subscription that we have that gets renewed in July, it takes her weeks just to renew those, so she's a lifesaver. I love my
And she's a
team.
magazine cover model, and
Yeah.
she is one hell of a VFW run cheerleader, so.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Nick.
you
Good
very
job.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so another one of the stars, because this woman, no, you are tirelessly working. I mean, look, if you don't get our kids to the schools, then they don't get to learn. And you've done everything from, 4 in the morning to riding buses, so you are a lady, star. So,
Well, thank you.
we're ready for transportation.
Okay, well, good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Joyce Forsberg. I'm the Senior Transportation Manager of our Transportation Department. For our budget presentation tonight, we just wanted to explain a little bit that the Transportation Department is a policy-driven, service-oriented department. We provide safe, reliable, and efficient transportation for students to and from school and school-related activities and field trips. We promote student transportation as a frontline support service for the instructional program by delivering students safely, on time as best we can, and in a frame of mind ready to learn. Some of the benefits for our budget is for in-house services. With our own bus drivers, we have driver stability. We have student familiarity with the drivers. We have increased parent confidence and comfort levels with our drivers. We have improved student behavior, and we have a reduction in HIV cases that happen on the school buses. The transportation supports the transportation services for 7,062 students that we transport every day. It also supports the aid in lieu payments of transportation services for students who attend non-public schools. It supports our fleet vehicle operations, maintenance and repair, which now consists of 47 school buses, 28 facilities management vehicles, 2 security vehicles. It also supports mandatory bus driver drug testing and our uniforms that we wear to look professional out there. Okay, on this chart here, this pie chart represents the percentage of students that we transport every day. 53% of our transportation is to the regular educational students in the district. 5% of our transportation is dedicated to the special needs transportation. That's in district and out. As you can see, 3% is represented by transporting regular charter students, and also for non-public students is another 3%, and 36% of our budget is dedicated to transporting students that live within the hazardous areas that cannot remotely walk or have a parent transport to school. This represents the cost for all those just different transportation in the previous chart. Our non-public school busing or payments for aid in lieu is just 2% of our budget. But for regular kindergarten through 12, flex program and displaced students, that is represented by 33% of our budget. The biggest part of our budget is dedicated to special pre-K through 12 busing for special needs students. That represents 52% of our budget. Even with the maintenance, repair, fuel supplies, and inspections is only 5% of our budget. After-school activities to provide busing services is another 3% of our budget. So most of our budget, as you can see, is dedicated all to the transportation of students themselves. Okay, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, just one.
Nope.
Thank you. I think we had some nice conversations in the beginning of the year, so I really have a question about that. Have things improved? I know this year started out extremely disappointing in the treatment, I know, of your team. Talk to me a little bit about how things are right now and have we improved?
Okay, a lot of the situations have improved. Some of our contractors have gotten the staff and personnel, so we're able to staff more busing. We've expanded our buses and also had personnel that we used to cover, a lot of the shortages that we've had. Parent-wise, the complaints that we receive have lessened, but we still have unique cases where there's, situations where it's, how do I want to put it?
Honestly, what's going on?
Honestly,
Yeah.
a lot of the parent complaints or parent calls that we get now, some are thankful, but the ones that we really hear about are the ones that are very upset over a situation on a school bus. Depending on what happens. A student got hit or somebody said something to a student. So you're seeing the extreme cases of what the parents' reactions are more than what you're seeing of the students' reactions.
But the treatment of your drivers?
Treatments of the drivers have improved, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Zismar.
It may be part for you and Mr. Giuliana. The $485,000 for the charter school, particular busing, is that on top of the $5 million?
Yes.
The taxpayers already give there?
Yes.
So an accurate figure would be $5 million?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I know you have to provide that.
Mr. Hung and Mr. Carranza.
No, I just want to say thank you to the Transportation Department, because my daughter rides the bus, and for years, and it's been a great experience for her, so I'm under so much support for you.
Well, thank you. Well, without the staff, it consists of Lori Howell, our assistant transportation, or our
Thank you.
transportation coordinator, our dispatcher, Matt Anthony. Tell you, this
I
year
don't-
would have been,
I don't think you guys get enough credit.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that because it is,
I've
it's,
seen you guys out there, great job.
See, you stole my little shout out I was gonna have to do. It's good.
sorry,
No, it's all, it's. long as- No, we know somebody else did that, so.
That's my time.
Yes, okay, Mr. Hahn.
So Joyce, thank you and your team for the wonderful job you guys did and are doing for our students. I 100% agree with you for the benefit of in-house drivers, in-house service you listed. You know, my family is so fortunate we have school bus service, and we have our own bus driver, Miss Terry. So every day, every morning, I say there, Miss Terry always says, back up, you guys. She apparently, she knows every kid. She remembers every student's name. That's the beauty of our own bus driver.
you're
And
100% correct.
I don't believe the contract driver has the intention to know our student's name. They just, okay, I do the job, there's a time up, I drive my bus there, and when I drove my bus student, I'm gone, I'm leaving. So, has saying that, with so many good benefits, do you have any plan to increase further our bus fleet?
Okay, we did increase our bus fleet by 5 buses currently. I just hired 3 more drivers, 2 which started this Wednesday of this week, and the next one is going to be starting March 16th, hopefully. And then from there, we can only grow as big as our facility is, which is about another 5 buses currently, because we've already outgrown the facility once we get those 5 buses.
So we have talking about the e-cost. Is the electronic bus on your radar screen? Are you going to?
Currently-
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Hong, we have repeatedly applied for grants, competitive grants. I think we've done it 5 times so far.
For the past 5 years, yes.
And we have been turned down and told that the funds were really geared toward urban centers. We've been prepared for years to take on electric buses. Interestingly, about 2 weeks ago, I received an email from the Department of Environmental Protection, which was one of the agencies dealing with the grants. And apparently, their intention of awarding to urban centers wasn't working out so well. So they were looking for other interested districts. So we replied and let them know we're ready, willing, and able to proceed. Show us the money and we'll go in that direction. That's been a good 2 weeks now, and they've gone silent. So I can't explain what's happening beyond that. We've done follow-up. We haven't heard back. We'll continue to do follow-up, but there comes a point in time when, we can make all the effort that we wish, but unless there's grant funding to help support the cost, it's not going to be something that's easily achievable for us.
Good luck next year.
And you built that into the transportation center too, right?
Mhm.
We
Yes,
did that. That
we-
was one of the things when we opened that we were already
When we,
out of the game.
when we renovated the facility to make it our support operations center, it was outfitted with all the conduit to be able to receive all the wiring that would be necessary to support electric buses. So we're ready.
So you were proactive, you thought years ahead.
Yes.
Oh, many, because we went down to Delaware when you were.
We went to the University of Delaware, yeah.
Some of us took a
Yeah.
field trip to actually see the electric buses and how
Yeah.
they work.
That was
We-
forward thinking, which is,
That's how long we've been working on this and hoping for this.
And in fact, when we first applied, the buses were exclusively constructed in California and then transported out, and they were extremely expensive. And since that time, the battery technology has improved and the costs have come down, but we, as Mr. Giuliano said, we have done everything in preparation for this, and including the application of grants. So hopefully something will come through, but we're ready, and I appreciate Joyce and her team. And I just wanted to say, when you talked about the confidence and the, that the team puts in families, you put that confidence in administrators too, that we know that when you're on the road, your team does it professionally and safely and like nobody else does. So thank you very much for that.
Definitely could not do without the bus drivers and the aides. Bus
Repeat.
drivers and aides are very, very important to the operation, so.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
And we're going to let Joyce, thank you again, thank you to your team. We're going to let Mr. Giuliano bring it home for the budget conversation for this evening.
So we've got an update regarding state aid, charter schools, and health benefits. And before I get into the numbers, I'm going to request caution. Caution in that these are numbers that we are using as building blocks. We don't have a bottom line on the budget yet, and we should not jump to conclusions in necessarily pushing for something to occur in the bottom line. We'll get to the bottom line within another week or so, and we'll know what direction we'll be headed in. So, I think I laid enough of a foundation with that. We'll proceed.
You should have one of those big caution things that go through the
So,
screen.
the governor presented his budget message on February 28th. As required by law 2 days later, today we received state aid information. The chart on the screen shows the state aid history going back to 2009. I think it's important to know from whence we came, suffer through cuts, no increases in funding, and it's only been the last couple of years that the state is making up for what had not been coming to East Brunswick as it was due. So for next year, we are seeing a $6.5 million increase in state aid. I again refer back to my caution because we'll go on to the next chart here, and good things don't come with strings. And so right off the top of that $6.5 million, an additional $500,000 will be going to the charter school. So that 6.5 is now down to 6. At this point in time, for next year, charter school funding will be up to $5.1 million out of the school district budget. And then moving on, some other impacts to the budget, health benefits, and this excludes any new positions that may be included in the budget for next year. We're seeing medical and prescription at this point in time increasing 7%. That's approximately $2 million on the budget. Dental and vision costs will remain flat. That's for at least the last 3 years now, that will remain flat. And employee contributions, we are estimating, will increase by approximately $500,000, and that is strictly as a result of implementing the law that requires employee contributions on health benefits. The book isn't closed on health benefits. I'm cautiously optimistic that the health benefit costs projected for next year will be able to mitigate that somewhat, but that is what we are looking at this point in time. The Finance Committee will be meeting again next Wednesday to have further discussions. And then following that, we'll be working on striking a bottom line tentative budget. We'll be presenting the tentative budget at the March 16th board meeting, at which time the board will be required to adopt the budget. Anytime from March 16th up until just before May 4th, we can make modifications. The public hearing will be ultimately the budget that will be approved. And then the final budget adoption will be on May 11th. And that's all I have to report at this time.
Thank you. Well, Megan's been a very, very patient young lady, and I know that you're worth the wait. So tell us what is going on at that incredible high school.
Save the best for last.
Absolutely. You said it, so you're right. Best for last.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with bringing you something from the high school student council. So the student council does a lot of different initiatives. They run a lot of different events, and all of that is geared towards making our high school the best environment possible for all the students and staff. So their newest initiative is something called Dude Be Nice.
Dude, be nice. Dude, be nice.
Yeah. So you guys all get a sticker because I'm nice like that.
I was in the high school last night. They're everywhere.
And the idea of this is just to spread kindness, right? So if you kind of like, if you showed up to the high school these days, everybody has one of these stickers. And a lot of the student council members are walking around with like rolls of these stickers and just like, here, have a sticker. So everybody's wearing these stickers.
Thank you.
And it's kind of just going to show how our different groups in the high school are working to make our high school a very positive environment. And you might think like this is just a bunch of students going around to give stickers out to people, but every time somebody gives a sticker out, they're like, dude, be nice. And you start hearing this phrase a lot, and that's really what makes our kind and positive environment very obvious to everybody. So that's something that they've been doing at the high school. So everybody kind of wears a sticker. Some people have it on their backs. I feel like they don't realize, but I get for sure the same way. I'm
They
like,
had those
I
weird
walk up
ones,
to my
too.
friend, I'm like, dude, you have a, he's like, oh, okay. So I guess that works. So that's something that the student council has been working on. And that's also something that we brought up at our last principals council meeting, this initiative that they're doing. And our last principals council meeting was also very involved because Dr. Vanella had all of us students split up into different groups and kind of give our thoughts on what we might like to see in the new high school. So we all felt like this is a very good opportunity to share our thoughts because we all have things that we really like about our current high school and things that we think would really benefit us to have. So categories like academics, arts, stuff like that, we all kind of addressed. And I believe Dr. Vanella is compiling all of those suggestions and sending to Dr. Valesky. So that's kind of just our emphasis on having student voice, not just from like our student government leadership, but also from anybody who wants to have input on something they like to see. So that's what we've been working on at the high school. I'd also like to give a shout out to our esports team, which already left, but it's something that's very unique to all of us, even though I've never played like a competitive video game, I guess in the sense that they're talking about. But it's very special because in the high school you see a lot of different people playing video games. A lot of my friends do as well. I don't have any like personal connection to it, but I can tell that once this team started, it was definitely like a sense of community among them. And it just kind of goes to show how like when we're like the athletes are joining different athletic teams, we kind of get praised for it because, you know, we're getting that sense of responsibility and teamwork, and that's something that they're getting from this as well that they didn't get before from playing video games with their schoolmates. So I think that's definitely something to be recognized and appreciated at the high school. That's something very special that we have this year. And just some recent happenings, our mock trial team and our Science Bowl teams won competition, so that was very good. Our drama club has the Wizard of Oz coming up next week and weekend. And our student council is also planning an escape room, so that's also going to be next week. So that's very exciting.
Oh,
as
could
well.
board members come to that?
I don't know. Can they? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
Can they? What happens if you can't get out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Stay
the
there.
problem.
That's why they're going to lock us in?
Yeah.
Megan doesn't want to do that. She wants us to give her her diploma.
Well,
She may
that's
wanna
nice.
leave- she wants us to leave us, right?
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then seniors have been hearing some more college acceptances, kind of randomly. And also we had our high honors group with the seniors get their recognition for that. We had a little meeting. It was 19 of us. We all got called down to the principal's office, and then we waited in the little waiting area, and we all played the guessing game of like, what are we here for today? Oh no. And then we walked in the room, and then there was all the counselors and everybody there, and then we were like, okay, this is, we're getting recognized for something good, so. It was
Very
nice.
exciting. Great job. We'll say we knew you when,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You know, and it's interesting, because you're right, like, when you think about video games, as I said, they go back to the thought of the kid sitting there online, you know, in the basement, you know, that Jason Alexander is a video, and he's like country music fans. But it's true, they were so well-spoken. I mean, they were your contemporaries. They were just like you, animated, bright. Not only do they do their presentation, because it's, you know what, I don't want to say anyone can get up and give a presentation, but you just saw the budget managers. You not only have to give your presentation, but you have to be prepared for what we throw you for questions, right? That's probably the hardest part, correct? Because you know what you're going to say, you have that part done, but when you're in front of a live audience and they're asking you questions, and you guys are a lot older than they are, and these guys at 17 and 18 years old, I mean, they were just, I mean, terrific. What'd you say? Okay, yeah. No, but, all right, but put it to use, I will be nice. But realistically, that was very impressive that these kids haven't even graduated, and they were just unbelievably poised and just answered everything, so you have some incredible teammates or colleagues or peers, so yeah. So thank you. Okay, so we are through with our presentations, which brings us to, see, I'm not as well-spoken as the teenagers, to the good of the cause for the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. A participant will be limited to 3 minutes duration. Time will be taken by the use of a timing device operated by the board secretary. And I do always remind the public, this is your time to talk to us. We are not going to be engaging in a back and forth. And anything that needs a follow-up, we will be leaving information with the two lovely ladies right over here. And we'll make sure that Dr. Valesky or the appropriate person gets back to you. And that being said, is there anyone this evening that would like to speak to the Board of Education? I see two hands. Dr. Zambicki, you want to start it off, or?
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Okay. And you're wearing the school colors, as am I. I was told I was wearing East Brunswick green, so.
Yes, of course.
You got the memo.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Dana Zambicki, proud president of the East Brunswick Education Association. I'm speaking tonight on 2 points. First of all, we are transforming our EB Bear Den into the Bear Boutique for this weekend. We will be offering our students and to shop for, I think we have 250 or 60 prom dresses, shoes, accessories, semis, graduation dresses. So we are very excited to be doing that, and I want to give a huge shout out to our guidance counselor at the high school, Mrs. Mariani, who has been working very hard to make sure that we're optimizing this. Yeah. So yes, so that's a great thing, right? I also want to take the opportunity. I wasn't planning on speaking about this, but I thought with the technology budget, it fits in perfectly. With the expansion of technology, I'm just asking, please don't forget our support staff. Our support staff, our instructional assistants, our school aides, some of the people that don't have devices that are readily available. Many of them need to sign them out to use them, or they're the older systems. If we can update that. One of the big issues we have is that we're not able, as employees, to access our paychecks from home. We only can access in the buildings. It can be difficult for our support staff to get to a computer to do that. There's not computer banks that are readily available for the masses of support staff, which numbers about 600 support staff. Some of them sit at computer banks, so it's easy, but about 350 do not. So I would ask to be taking a look at that. I can tell you one really sad story, and I will tell you, our financial services department is amazing. If you need your paycheck and you get a hold of them, you get it very quickly. But they don't work 7 days a week, 24 hours, and nor should they, right? But I had a member who, during the competitive housing market, bid on a house and actually lost the house because they weren't able to access their paycheck right at that moment. So that was a little heartbreaking for them. So I'm just asking, with the technology piece, let's look forward, and at least if we can get more banks so people can get to a bank during the day while they're working in order to access the online paycheck, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any needs, by the way, going to your first question? I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, but do you have shoes, accessories, anything that you're still looking for this?
We always take it year-round.
Okay.
Yeah, shoes, accessories.
Oh, no, I know that. I just meant like for the prom, for your prom boutique. I didn't know if you had any special requests or needs still for those
Nothing
kids.
at the moment, but
Okay.
we take everything.
Yes, I know. Okay. Thank you. And I know there was a hand in the back. Come on up, and please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rose Cruz. I live at 22 Perry Road in East Brunswick. My husband Joey and I are proud parents of 2 small boys in East Brunswick schools. Our oldest is 5. He's neurodivergent. He's in kindergarten LLD special ed. He's level 1 autistic with sensory processing issues. He learns and thinks differently than the majority of kids his age, and the neurotypical code of conduct doesn't work for kids like him. I just want you to know I have nothing but gratitude, respect, and admiration for the educators and support staff in our schools, and now that I've had a chance to meet all of you and see you in action, everyone in this room as well. Anyone that has the important responsibility of caring for children, whether parents, guardians, gen ed, special ed, they need and deserve consistent support from each other. Engaging with children, especially the young and neurodivergent, is intense, really hard work. It takes tremendous amount of patience and self-regulation to fight your natural human reactions and look at things from their perspective, even when the children are your own and you love them more than life itself. Parents and guardians who have complex kids are working extra hard because it's more expensive to raise children with special needs, and not just financially. We don't know what we don't know when we're out there. And what I'm asking for you today is to consider fostering more of a working relationship between school and home to make sure that we're all on the same page and exchanging insight for the sake of better understanding our kids. This goes for kids of all ages and neurotypes, but especially the youngest, who lack the communication and self-regulation skills that are often expected of them. Current parent-teacher communication is limited. It's mostly through email, which is impersonal and can be misunderstood without tone and context, and I know we can do better. I found a presentation on the Student Services page of the district website, which was given by the Supervisor of Student Services, Danielle Blaylock. She's a lovely woman who I've never met, but I'm sure you all know. And she said, the time that we live in is in our society, a scary one, so the kids need us. The work that we do day in, day out is needed. If we do not have kids feeling connected in our schools, feeling safe, feeling well, they will not be present to learn academically. So it's equally as important as the academics we provide. As a mom, it's a really scary world. Mental illness is on the rise everywhere. No one is immune. Then she continues, if I could keep my kids in a bubble and carry them around in my pocket, I probably would, but we can't. And this presentation was made in 2018, in March, exactly 5 years ago, pre-COVID, pre-unprecedented
10
times,
seconds.
pre-bubble. Last board meeting was reported that 1,600 or 20% of the current population is made up of special ed students. I want the board to examine its current standards and make a plan for improvement. I have a lot more to say, and I can talk later if anyone's interested. Thank you.
And Rose, if you would, please leave your information with that Janitor Carrot in the front.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your remarks. Is there anyone else that would like to speak with the board this evening, or speak to the board this evening? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion and move on to our board agenda for the evening. May I please have a motion for items number 1 and 2 on our community programs agenda? Moved by Mr. Winston. Anyone want to second it? Second by Mr. Hong. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. May I please have a motion for items 1 and 2 on our facilities agenda? Moved by Mr. Sismar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Winston. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Sure.
I did have one question there, with facilities, with the landscaping and grounds. Can I ask a question?
I don't see why not.
Email.
No, you can ask a question.
I don't see why not.
With the grounds and, the tree removal brush and cleaning up stuff, is there any new things gonna happen with the football field as you come in? You guys know how I'm always about that, right? Is this covered, this budget?
You're talking about improvements to the
Yeah, that
entry
area, grass and.
This is basic service, but it's one of the things that we've been talking about, what can we do to improve the aesthetic of it?
You guys know I'm like a.
Yeah.
I would dedicate time to it.
No problem. Okay. Before I ask for motion, does anyone need anything separated out on our financial services this evening? Then I am going to ask for a motion for items 1 through 10 on financial services. Moved by Mr. Winston and second by Mr. Carangelo. Is there any discussion on those items? No, this is a roll call vote. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Colangelo.
Yes.
Mrs. Chu.
Yes.
Mr. Sismar.
Yes.
Ms. Gloss.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mr. Winston. Yes. President Lax.
Yes, motion carries. May I please have a motion for one item on human resources this evening? Mr. Winston and Mr. Sismar, is there any discussion on human resources? Oh, this will be a roll call vote as well then. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Colangelo.
Yes.
Mrs. Chu.
Yes.
Mr. Sismar.
Yes.
Ms. Gloss.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mr. Winston. Yes. President Lax.
Yes, motion carries. And may I please have a motion for the 2 items under staff development this evening?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Reese, second by Mr. Winston. Is there any discussion on staff development? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Leading us to student services. May I please have a motion for items 1 through 4 on student services? Moved by Mr. Winston. Second by Mr. Carangelo. This is like a ping pong match today. Is there any discussion on student services? Okay, this again is a roll call vote, so if the secretary will please call the roll.
Mr. Colangelo.
Yes.
Mrs. Chu.
Yes.
Mr. Sismar.
Yes.
Ms. Gloss.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mr. Winston.
Yes.
President Lax.
Yes, motion does carry, and I'm going to do what Mr. Carangelo did, because I did notice in my notes, I had a question. So I did just want to ask a very quick question, I'm not sure who it's to. I noticed there's a Model UN competition, it seems to overlap the IPPL and the theater. So do we ever find that we have students that are involved in the IPPL program that may be doing theater as well? I just thought about that, if you're somebody who is active in IPPL, and you wanted to be in the school production, do we?
Yeah, it's
It's
possible.
possible.
I don't know that there's anyone in this
This
case,
year?
but it's possible.
Do we generally try and stay away from, or, because I know, I used to do Molly, they have certain times, do we, and I know our,
We try.
Generally tried,
Okay.
there's so many things going on, especially during this time of the year.
Okay.
Sometimes there may be, these types of events are scheduled and pretty solid.
I know, yeah.
And then it's a matter of availability and athletics, and there's so many different things that go in. We do everything we can to make sure the
It's
student
hard.
wants to
And
be
sometimes the
involved and
dates
get
of the
involved.
competitions aren't released until after we've
Until
already
after they
scheduled
do,
the
yeah.
performances.
Okay. I just saw that and felt bad if you were a kid that wanted to do
Yeah.
both.
All right, do we do the vote?
Yes, we did.
We did, that's right, I was doing after, see? Okay.
Hold them off.
This brings us to new, old business, committee reports, information items for the goods of the cause for the board. So the first one we have is I am going to ask for a motion, the Board of Education to authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Support Operations to award a contract to an appropriate approved contractor from a board-approved cooperative purchasing agreement for the removal of trees at East Brunswick High School for a cost not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sismar, second by Mr. Winston. Do we have any discussion on this? No, then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion does carry. So Mrs. Becker just handed me a committee report, and I have to read her chicken scratch now. The ad hoc, so I apologize if I don't do her justice. The ad hoc committee met the other week. Another great meeting began with short presentations by Dr. Valesky and Dr. Vanilla. Then we broke into groups to work on the topics supplied by Dr. Valesky. The configuration of the physical space and what should be included in the footprint. Looking forward to building on their ideas and initiatives at the next meeting, and I do believe we will also be having a rotation of
Yes.
our two more board members as well. So, thank you, Mrs. Becker had to leave for a work emergency because people tend to forget sometimes that we do have jobs outside of here. So, that being said, do we have any other committee, go to the cause, anything? No, everyone wants to go home, huh? Okay. I know, then I am going to ask Mr. Winston, because you have been my go-to person tonight for motions, for a motion to adjourn.
Let's do that.
Thank you, and who would like to second it? Second. Second by Mrs. Goss. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you so much. Good night. It was another great evening.